that we should establish a forum of African and Caribbean states to be coordinated jointly by the Secretariats of CARICOM and the African Union. Designation of September the 7th as Africa-Caribbean Day. Staging of an annual Africa-CARICOM Summit every year on September the 7th. To charge the Secretariats of CARICOM and the African Union to produce within 6 months an Africa-CARICOM Charter and a Memorandum for Understanding for the operationalization of the forum. To establish a multilateral air services agreement between Africa and the Caribbean. The signing of a double taxation agreement between Africa and the Caribbean. The removal of visas for Africans to allow hassle-free travel to the Caribbean, and for people of the Caribbean to have hassle-free travel to Africa. It was also proposed that there should be the establishment of a regular weekly direct airline flight between an African country and one CARICOM member state, at least, even if it means that the African Union and CARICOM may have to provide some modest financial or other support in the commencement phase of such a venture. That there should be the establishment of a joint African-Caribbean electronic mass media platform or mechanism that facilitates the flow of news, information, and artistic programming between Africa and the Caribbean for the benefit of the two peoples. There should be the establishment of an African-CARICOM public-private partnership dedicated to mobilizing resources and deploying them in critical cutting-edge projects centered around renewable energy and digital technology. And there must be a collective commitment to participate fully in the upcoming high-level meeting of the United Nations General Assembly in commemoration of the 20th anniversary of the 2001 United Nations World Conference Against Racism, and to jointly use that high-level event to advance the claim for reparations within the processes of the United Nations. Now, of course, all of these are magnificent proposals, suggestions, long overdue. This is what we need. But based on a broad pool of feedback that we have gotten, many Caribbean people who live in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom felt so proud of this achievement, having this forum, as I also feel very proud about it. But people within the Caribbean themselves, across the various CARICOM nations, have identified what they feel to be some measure of hypocrisy on the part of political leaders who have ignored the interests and concerns and the plight of the African community in Caribbean countries, but participate in these broader global forums where they talk about service to the African people. Now, I personally, as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, was happy to hear our Prime Minister mention the United Nations Decade for People of African Descent. That was a magnificent point. But again, our Caribbean people out there in America and Europe would applaud that, but we here in Trinidad would say, but why did it take 7 years? And why wasn't that discussed internally with the country rather than, again, in a global forum with other world leaders? And many people from other Caribbean societies feel the same way about this kind of approach. That we can get together, like in the March 11, 2014 meeting of all 15 heads of CARICOM who unanimously agreed to the 10-point plan of action for reparations. That is magnificent. But how much progress has been made moving towards reparations in these Caribbean countries? Many of them have not even said or uttered a word about it. But again, discuss it in global forums. This is the responsibility now of grassroots people on the ground level to get involved in social organizations and black movements to push for the kind of justice that politicians have been failing in giving us. And in particular, when it comes to Africa and the Caribbean, one thing that I hope would be raised by at least next year is the fact that we still to this day have so many Africans from Africa who have not committed any crimes, languishing in these detention centers, being treated like animals, denied their rights. And while this country has opened up borders for other peoples from Russia, from India, from Venezuela, it is Africans from Africa who are more socially integrated into the African community in Trinidad than any other ethnic group from anywhere else on the planet. You have Africans from Africa who come to Trinidad, get married to Trinidadians, have children, settle down, start a family, and still they're put in jail, treated like dogs, disrespected and denied of their rights. And many times they're kept in these detention centers until they themselves could personally afford to pay for a flight to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars to go back to Africa, being kicked out of the country while Venezuelans, Indians, and Russians and Chinese come into the country, but yet still we're sitting in an Africa CARICOM forum with heads of government from all across the world. That needs to be fixed. And unfortunately, this has lingered on for so long. And in many of these countries as well, African people are still the last in line when it comes to certain special privileges, especially as it pertains to getting multi-million-dollar government contracts. And we are programmed and commissioned to make excuses as to why African people should not get these privileges and opportunities. So I am saying, hats off, I salute, I applaud 1,000% the Africa Caribbean Summit, and I will support every year on September the 7th, but we have to deal with these matters internally and not just in external conversations. African people still must get justice from the state, from the government, within our societies, by our constitution, through the courts. But I am saying as well, it has to start with us. We must be organized on the ground, grassroots level. And there most likely will be a grassroots Africa CARICOM Summit as well. It's possible that the Black Agenda Project Organization will host it, but that will be to provide grassroots support to the wider objectives. And if the bigger politicians in their sovereign positions and in their capacity as political leaders fail in the delivery of those objectives to the masses of the people, we still have the responsibility to take it upon ourselves to seek justice by going out and taking it rather than sitting down and waiting for it.